All right, so in Pro Accounting here, we were on the customers menu. So to get started with accounts receivable, for those of you who haven't used it before, the first thing we need to do is enter in our customers. So under customer maintenance here, we have our test customer. But basically to do that, we just click the new button and fill out the information for the customer and click save. And this is going to be the first step to running the accounts receivable system, is getting this customer information in the system for you. And then once you have some customers, then the next step is to create some bill codes for them. And for those of you who are familiar with the cash receipting system, you are already familiar with this process. But for the accounts receivable system, the bill code type must be accounts receivable instead of cash receipting. So basically, we would click a new one, and we would give it a code and a name, and then set the bill code type to accounts receivable. And then basically give it an account number, and then once it has an account number, then it will be there for the accounts receivable. So once we have some bill codes in the system, we go ahead, and then the next step is to actually enter invoices to be paid. So to do that, we click on invoice post, and we can just create a new journal. That's fine. And then we click on new, and we give it our customer that we created, and then our bill code that we created. And then we give it a quantity and a price each. And then you can enter a purchase order number if the customer has if this is a purchase order invoice. If you're invoicing for a customer that is giving you a purchase order number, you can enter it here. You can also enter a requisition number, and this can be just for your reference, or it can be if the customer has like some kind of authorization number for this invoice. And then a description and a memo for the invoice. But we can say this is invoice royalties. Not sure royalties of what, but for royalties. And then basically then save and commit. And it's best practice to either put the date of the billing that you're sending out in the journal description, so that you know what day this was. So if you had to go back and look up an invoice, then you would know this journal number is going to have the invoice that I'm looking for because of the date. So then we just go ahead and click OK. And now we have an invoice in the system. So now if we run a customer aged accounts receivable report, this report is important to tell you who owes you money and who hasn't paid their invoices, and the breakdown of the days that they haven't paid. So for example, we just put this invoice in today, so it's in the 0 to 30 column. If we waited until July, it would move to the 31 to 60 column. And then this report will list out all of the customers that currently owe money based off of their invoices. And likewise, if they do make a payment, then this data will disappear and show that they don't owe anything. So customers that don't owe anything won't show up on this report. But as we can see, if we just rerun the report again, as we can see, the invoice here shows up in the, like I said, the 0 to 30 column. final step to the process is entering the payment. So when the customer actually does make a payment to this open invoice, we would come under payment post, and we can leave it today's date, or we can put it as a date in the future, and just hit OK. And when we come into payment post here, we would pick the customer that we want to make the payment for, and their total open balance will show up here automatically for you. So if they're sending you just one check for the total 120, then you don't have to do anything with this amount field. It pre-populates for you. So then you can put in the check that they sent, but in our case, they're only going to make a half a payment, so they're only going to pay 60. So when they only make a half a payment, then you would have to put in the amount that's on the check, and then click on the Select Invoices to Pay button. And then this will show you all the open invoices that this customer has. So you can pick and choose which one you want to apply the $60 to. And since we just have one line item on these invoices for 120, we're going to go into the Select Line Items to Pay and change the amount to pay here to 60. And then click on Pay this line item. And that will apply $60 to this royalty bill code. So we can go ahead and hit Save. And you have the option of either printing a receipt for this payment or not, or you can actually ignore it if you don't print receipts and you don't want to see this message again during this session. If you come back into payment post, it'll pop this message up again, even if you hit ignore. So let's go ahead and say no for this one. And then we'll go ahead and commit this one. Okay, so we can now see that they owe 60 instead of 120 that they have paid. They have paid 60, so they don't owe the full balance on this report. So then if we go back into payment post, bring up our journal, we can make the final payment. And this time, since it's going to be paid in full, we don't have to change the dollar amount. We just put the check number in, and then we click on this Pay All Invoices, or this button to pay all invoices for this customer. And then this time we are going to print a receipt. Move that to come up. And then this is the receipt that will get printed at the front when the customer actually gives you the payment. So you can see it shows you the invoice number that they applied the payment to and the line item that they applied the payment to of the $60. So if they had two line items that they paid or two invoices that they paid, multiple items would show up in the middle of this report. So then we can go ahead and commit this. And now if we rerun our aging report, nothing shows up, indicating that nobody owes us any money. So this aging report is a great report to run. Like I said, to show you who owes what and how much they owe. And it's also a good report to balance against your accounts receivable general ledger account. So with the account totals or the fund totals, when there is somebody that owes money, that dollar amount in those totals should match up with what's in your general ledger accounts receivable account. If it doesn't, then most likely there have been other transactions like journal entries or other things posted to that account number that weren't part of the accounts receivable system. So ideally, it should balance with what this report should balance with your general ledger accounts receivable report or accounts receivable account number. And then the final step is to use the Make Deposits feature when you're actually going in and posting a deposit to your bank account for the money that the customer paid. So we can see here we have our $260 payments. check number 645 and 456, $420, and we can actually post a deposit in the system, which is really helpful for when you're using our bank reconciliation system. When you're using our bank reconciliation, that these deposits show up in there and should match what's actually shown as a deposit line on the bank statement itself. Previously, in other iterations of the system, you had to do deposits as a journal entry or just post things directly to the cash account. And you can still continue to do that, just it won't flow as nicely into the bank reconciliation system if you do that. What it will do is it will show you the individual payments, as this customer paid $60 and this customer paid $60. It won't show the $120 like your bank statement would show for the deposit. So you would have to look at the data and check off, here's a $60 payment, here's a $60 payment to make up this $120 deposit. So the make deposits feature does that for you and just outputs a single line into the bank reconciliation for $120. So you don't have to match up each individual deposit with the bank statement. So that's an overview of the accounts receivable system overall.
You are now working smarter with ProFund Accounting. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more content like this.